Hello, fictional. Welcome to the What If Issei. Today we are gonna see what if Issei was born into a noble devil family. Part 4. If you end up liking this video, please consider subscribe, so without further ado, let's get into the video. When I wake up, I look up and realize that I'm lying in my bed in my house. I sit up and see Rias and Koneko lying on either side of me, Koneko's tail wrapped possessively around my waist, while Rias is looking up at me. "You're awake," she gasps, bolting upright and exposing her unsurprisingly nude form. At this point, I'm just not going to question you being naked. I deadpan. "So, how long was I out this time?" "A little under 2 days, are you feeling okay now?" Before I can respond, Koneko's ears twitch and she wakes up. "Senpai," she shouts, latching onto my torso with her arms. "She got here right after you passed out." Rias explained she was absolutely terrified. I look down and pat her head. "It's fine, Koneko-chan. I just needed to sleep for a while." I'm actually surprised that I was only out for a few days. I thought it'd be way longer than that with something so severe. I chuckle. "Actually, Ice, you have Koneko-chan to thank for that," Rias says. I look down at Koneko again. "Then you," I stammer. Koneko nods slightly. "Thank you, Koneko-chan," I say, hugging her back. "I know you probably don't like using senjutsu, and I apologize for making you do it." "It's okay, senpai." I look down and pat her on the head, scratching behind her cat ears idly while I rub my new eye. "Does your eye bother you?" partner Drake asks me aloud. "A little bit," I admit. "Good. Pain builds character." "Whatever you say, Dad." I mock. I pry Koneko off of me and stand up, looking down. I realize that I'm just as nude as Rias and Koneko. Before I do anything else, I use magic and summon a set of clothes to change into. "Rias, what are things like in the underworld?" I ask, changing into a casual set of clothes and stepping over to the mirror. "I doubt that everything's all hunky-dory after I stole you from another high-class family. Actually, Nai-sama was able to step in and stop things before they got out of hand," Rias says, standing up and going to retrieve her clothes from atop a dresser. "He managed to create a media even out of it. We actually have to make a few public appearances, now that you're awake." "Lovely." I grunt sarcastically. "There's absolutely nothing I love more than the devil media." "When's the first one?" "This afternoon, Nai-sama arranged for you to do an interview with a news agency." "What time is it now?" "About 11 in the morning." She comes back to my side now and stands next to me, looking in the mirror. "We'll need to get going soon if we want to make it." "We?" I ask confused. "Of course, we. I have to do most of the interview with you, seeing as they're mainly about the two of us together." "Oh, well, sorry about dragging you into this, then," I say, draping my arm across her shoulder. "I'd rather have it than the alternative," she replies curtly. "The alternative? Oh, you mean Razor? After what I did to him, I doubt he'll come after any of us again," I say while smirking arrogantly. "Are Asia and Ray here?" I ask, pulling away from Rias and moving toward the door. "Yeah, and the other two are too," Rias says crestfallen. "You mean Middleton Calwerner?" I ask, stopping at the door. "The two that were out on a job for the last few days." "Well, that'd be them. Now, I have to go debrief them on the job. I'll come back up when it's time to go. Until then, just make yourself at home." I walk downstairs to see Middleton Calwerner and Rainer lounging on the couch. "Oh," Middleton says, he's awake. "Very astute, Middleton. Please, tell us what else you've noticed." I reply bitterly. "Damn, who's shit in your cereal?" She shoots back. "Sorry. It's been a rough 15 minutes. Rainer stands up and walks to my side. "What's up?" she asks, slightly worried. "Nothing too important, it's really just a minor nuisance. Apparently the devils want to make my beating yakitori into a media circus, and I'm scheduled for an interview later on today. And you all know just how much I love devil reporters." The three of them chuckle. "Just don't kill them, okay?" Calwerner jokes. "It'd cause major trouble for us." "Thanks, Calwerner, I'm glad to see you care so much about me. I'm worried about them. I can speak from experience, pissing you off is rarely fun." I laugh. "I guess so. Speaking of pissing me off. How did the job go?" "Well, about as well as you'd expect," Middleton says, backing away from me slowly. "And the payment?" I ask, taking a step toward her. "Well, he said that he's going about it in the usual manner. He told us you'd know what he means." "Oh, well, alrighty then. Good job, you two," I say, stepping back and dropping on the couch. "We thought you'd be pissed since we didn't actually collect anything," Calwerner says. "Oh, no, don't worry about it. Some of my longtime clients repay me in favors, and that's what he prefers to do. As long as you perform the services, I can drop by and collect payment later." "Wait, how do you know that he's not going to deny ever making the contract?" Rainer asks from behind me. "Are you familiar with the Colorado wildfires of 2013? I heard about them." "That's how." He tried to skimp out on a payment before, so I let him know that such behavior would not be tolerated. You're telling me that you started one of the year's most infamous natural disasters just because somebody didn't settle a debt. Rainer, that's how businesses like ours operate. Clients like ours aren't exactly paragons of virtue, hell, they normally go into these contracts expecting to sell their souls. If they don't march to our cadence, then they need to know that their actions will impact others. That's the way we work, our way or the highway. Then we're nothing more than hired thugs. She shouts. Not quite. The hired thugs will do just about anything. We accept jobs at our discretion, if we don't like the looks of one, then we walk away. Also, I like to use the term mercenaries, it implies a certain level of finesse. But, Ray, listen. We actually don't do a lot of work for humans, and when we do, it hardly turns out like how I was telling you. Most of our clients are actually officials from one of the 3 factions or the other pantheons. If you want, I can make it so that you only work for clients who don't require any such unpleasantries. She blushes and nods. Alright then. I've actually been meaning to expand out of the combat sector, so this works out well. Okay, that works fine. Speaking of which, do you know where Asia is? She just went to take a bath about 5 minutes before you came in. Rainer tells me. She's been with you the entire time you've been unconscious. I'm not even sure that she slept, you should go check up on her. Which bathroom did she go to? I think the one next to your room. I nod, leaving the room and climbing the stairs to the 3rd floor and stand in front of the door to one of the bathrooms on the floor. Asia? You in there? I call through the door. I stand there for about 30 seconds without hearing a response. Asia? Are you okay? I shout, knocking harder on the door. Still no response. Asia, I'm sorry, but I'm coming in. I force the door open, breaking off the handle to undo the lock and rush into the bathroom. As I'd feared, Asia is lying unconscious in the bathtub. Thankfully, the water is still warm, which means that she hasn't been in there for long, but I'm still worried about how she passed out in the first place. I lift her out of the tub and carry her to my bedroom down the hall. Rias and Koneko look at me quizzically before they realize what's happening and snap up in panic. It's nothing too bad, I say, setting her down on the bed and turning on the fan. She just passed out in the tub. Do either of you know why this had happened? Oh, Koneko-chan, could you go into the bathroom and grab me a towel? She nods and hurries off to do what I asked. She was probably tired. Rias says, sitting down on the edge of the bed next to Asia. She's been with you even longer than we have, and she's been awake every time we saw her, so I don't think she's slept at all since she got here. Koneko runs up to me carrying a towel from the bathroom. I take it from her and pat her on the head. Thanks. I say, creating a magic circle and summoning ice to wrap in the towel. Once the impromptu coolant is finished, I place it on Asia's forehead and sit down next to Rias. I really am lucky, you know that. I say, wrapping my arm around her and pulling her into me. What do you mean by that? She stutters. Sorry, just thinking out loud. Don't worry about it. I turn around as Asia begins to stir. Ice-san. She groans. I'm here, kiddo. I say, helping her sit up and catching the ice pack as it falls off her head. You're awake. Thank the Lord. Everybody in the room winces at the mention of God, but that isn't enough to deter Asia from reaching up and hugging me. Ice-san, I'm so happy you finally woke up. I was so worried. She cries, hugging me tighter. Oh, right, this is her first time seeing this. I think to myself as I gently pat her on the back. Indeed, and I don't recommend that you make a habit of it. Drake replies. Wasn't planning on it. I'm fine, Asia. It'll take more than that to keep me down. I was just a little tired. A little tired? Rias scoffs. You were asleep for 2 days. Fine then, I snap. I was a lot tired. The point is I'm awake now, and I don't intend to pass out anytime soon. Asia pulls off of me and sits up on the edge of the bed. Ai-san, are you sure you're alright? I'm fine, Asia, I just needed to sleep for a bit. Don't worry about me. But, Ai-san, Asia. I say sharply. I'm a 27-year-old man. I can take care of myself. I appreciate you worrying about me, but you doing so caused you to neglect your own health. And that takes precedence over mine. I stand up suddenly. Speaking of which, I have a formal event coming up, I should probably look my age. I say as I dispel the illusion magic from me and take on my true form. Rias snaps up in surprise. Oh, that's right. It's almost time to go. Ice, come here, I'll teleport us to the station. Ai-san, where are you going? Asia asks standing up from the bed. Apparently, I say Surzich-sama decided to make a media event about the fight so as to ease tensions between me and the other high-class devils. Rias and I have an interview with a devil news agency in a few minutes. We'll be back in a few hours, don't worry about it. I stand next to Rias as she summons a teleportation seal and warps the two of us to the underworld. After visiting one of the smaller houses in Grimory territory and getting proper attire, Rias and I warp to the news station. She's wearing a form-fitting red dress which leaves little to be imagined, while I'm clad in a standard black suit with grey tie. For once, my hair is actually combed flat, which feels completely unnatural, but Rias, for some reason, finds it to be hilarious. Rias, I complain not to sound like a child, but is there any reason that I have to dress up like this? Of course there is. She says matter-of-factly, it's important that you have a positive public image, even more so considering how most higher-ranking devils are displeased with your actions in my engagement. Does it look like I give a rat's ass about what the others think? There are only 4 devils in this plane of existence that I have to answer to. And seeing as how none of those pricks are one of the 4 Satans, their thoughts have absolutely no bearing on me. Problem, Rias. Keep in mind that it was those same higher-class devils that almost forced you into marrying a walking sack of garbage. If you ask me, they actually don't have any class at all. I retort, ending the conversation as we arrive in front of the building where the interview is taking place. Well then, darling, I say, holding out my arm and letting the sarcasm loose at full force, shall we continue? Rias blushes and nods, taking my arm and walking into the building with me. While the initial action was meant to be completely condescending, I'd be lying if I said I don't enjoy the feeling of walking arm in arm with Rias. Her generous assets certainly don't subtract from the experience. When we enter the station headquarters, a somewhat well-dressed man walks up to us. Lord Hyoudou. I'm Alistair Wright, one of the staff here at the station. Sir IsseixOC has requested me to escort you to the chamber where the interview will be held. Are you ready to depart? His formal manner is a little discomforting, but I suppose that's inevitable. I'm supposed to be treated like nobility, after all. I do believe we are. I reply curtly. Then, Hyoudou-sama, please follow me. He turns on his heel and leads Rias and me to a higher floor and into a room with a couch and a lounge chair, separated by a low coffee table. Please wait here, Mr. Infigo will be here momentarily to begin the interview. With that, he turns and leaves us. I lead Rias over to the couch and we both sit down. I swear to all that is unholy, I say if this guy brings up anything about my bloodline I'll kill him. What makes you think he will? Rias asked confusedly. Because they almost always do. Back when I brought the Andromalius family back on the map single-handedly, all the media in the underworld couldn't wait to get an interview. However, the one thing that they always fixated on was how a mere half-breed like me could have the gall to become one of the 72 pillars. Pissed me off to no end. I reply bitterly. Well, this station is under the control of my family. If he says anything rude we can have him dismissed from his position. She tells me in a poorly masked attempt to calm me down. I suppose. Speaking of your family, have you decided what you want to do about our engagement? What do you mean? She shouts. I believe you said it before. Technically, when I beat Razor, I won the right to marry you. However, since I try not to be a massive sack of shit, I think that you should make the choice on what to do yourself. Well, I won't deny that a marriage will certainly strengthen both of our families. I'm not going to force it down your throat. You can make our engagement public only, and I can help prolong it until you find somebody you deem suitable, or you can actually marry me. Of course, I personally refuse to marry you until you're at least done with a university-level education. After all, that is one of the things you wanted, right? She stares at me dumbfounded and nods her head. I guess I went a little overboard there. She stammers. You don't have to come up with a full answer now, I explain, but they're likely to ask about it, so it's important that you come up with a decision. I can hear somebody coming, so if they ask I'll just follow your lead. Before she can respond, another man comes into the room. This one, to be frank, looks rather shifty. His wire-thin frame is covered in a suit the color of ash, which is only made more unsettling by the blood-red tie he's wearing. His face is rather gaunt, his cheekbones are clearly visible, and his skin has a deathly pale pallor to it. What little hair he does have is jet black and combed over to hide the vast bald expanse of this head. Lord Hyoudou, he says, it is an honor to meet you. Somehow, his greeting seems to be rather sarcastic, putting an unnecessary amount of stress on my title. Likewise. I assume that you're Mr. Infigo? I ask. Yes. I am Emmanuel Infigo, middle-class devil and servant of the Grimory family. I will be conducting your interview today. Would you like to begin? Rias and I both nod. Well then, I think everybody is dying to know. Lord Hyoudou, now that you have defeated Lord Phoenix and claimed Lady Rias for yourself, what do you plan on doing with her? Actually, Rias jumps and we have both agreed to be married. Well, the interviewer says with a carnivorous glint in his eyes, this is interesting news. Please, Lady Rias, do tell us the details. Issei and I have both agreed to wait until I graduate from a college in the human world. Once I do graduate, we will begin planning a wedding. Infigo looks rather surprised at this piece of information. And you have no problems with this, Lord Hyoudou? He asks. Actually, I say, it was my idea. One of the reasons that Rias was opposed to marrying the young Lord Phoenix is because it was in violation of a promise made by Lord and Lady Grimory that she would be able to finish her schooling. For as long as I've known her, Rias wanted to experience a relatively human life, which includes going to college. And I don't see any reason to restrict her. He jots down the information I said, nodding as he takes the notes and grinning to himself. Now, Lord Hyoudou, why did you decide to challenge Lord Phoenix to a duel? Mr. Infigo, I believe that in order to take, one must first give. By that, I simply mean that should anybody wish to obtain something or someone, in this case they must first achieve feats worthy of that which they desire. Young Razor, in my opinion, has never done anything worthy of Ria's hand in marriage. But Lord Hyoudou, Lord Razor has never been defeated in the raiding game arena. Surely his victories may have counted for something. Mr. Infigo, one's merits on the field of battle are merely a small part of their character. While it is true that young Razor has accumulated numerous victories in the game arena, none of his victories were by his hand. Most of his wins were achieved without him actually entering the field of combat himself, and even when he does, he often uses underhanded tactics to force his opponent into surrendering. And you feel that you're different. One thing that most underworld media seemed to focus on a few years ago was that I returned my family to its position of prominence. I did that alone. Until recently, I did not have any members of my peerage, everything I did alone. I don't claim to be worthy of Ria's hand, but I have certainly done much more than him. However, Rias interjects due to his performance in the past, as well as the result of his fight with Razor, I have decided that Issei is more than suitable to marry me. Thank you for that, both of you. Infigo says. Now, it is common knowledge that Lord Hyoudou has moved into Kuo. Lady Gremory, does your engagement have any part in his relocation? I don't believe so. Issei moved into Kuo before I was even aware of his plans to fight Razor. So, do you believe that this is all a plan to take control of the land you control? Actually, I interrupt, she was never in control of Kuo. The town of Kuo, as well as the surrounding area, has been under the control of the Andromalius clan for generations, but I temporarily allowed the Citri and Gremory families to set up a hold in the town. However, now that I have decided to settle down, I am reclaiming control of the territory. Then what is going to happen to Lady Citri and Lady Rias? As far as I'm concerned, they can stay as long as they wish. The two of them have ties to the citizens of the town, so it would arouse suspicion if they and their peerages were to suddenly disappear. Also, they and I are on good terms, so I see no reason to evict them from the territory. Thank you, Lord Hyoudou. I do believe that we are finished here. I don't doubt that you're going to have a lot of appearances from here on out. I'll go ahead and let you leave. Infigo stands up, bows, and leaves. Well then, I say that went better than expected. I stand up and pull Rias up next to me. Rias takes my arm once again, and the two of us walk outside into the hallway. Once we get to the entrance of the building, a magic circle appears in front of me, and a small hologram of Rainer appears. What's up? I ask. You have a message from one of the higher-ups, apparently a stray has taken up residence in Kuo, and they want us to take care of it. She says. Oh, alright. We'll move out at dusk, gather everybody in the den, I'll need to explain things to you all. It's your first stray hunt, and I don't want anybody to get hurt. The magic circle dispels, leaving an awkward silence between Rias and I. Sorry, I say, turning to her, but I have to go. You know how those strays are. I'll make it up to you tomorrow, okay? She nods and squeezes my hand. Just be careful, okay? I'll be fine. I say, walking forward and teleporting away. My peerage is spread around the den. Calwerner and Middlet are sitting side by side on the main couch, while Ray is lounging on the armrest. Asia, however, is standing nervously next to Rainer. I'm standing across from the three of them, leaning on a wall. Well, looks like we're going to have to go to work tonight. I say, pushing back against the wall and fully standing up. Issei, what's going on? This had better be important. Middlet snaps. There's a stray devil that set up shop in town. We were requested to take care of it, and I think that it's a good idea for you guys to get combat experience. This is your first stray hunt, so I figured that it'd be smart for everybody to be involved. I think that it's a wonderful idea, Ai-san. Asia pipes up. I suppose that it's understandable. Calwerner says. If we're going to be fighting together now, it's only logical that we learn how to fight as a unit. Middlet stands up and walks over to my side. Well, it's almost dark. Shouldn't we be going? She says, though she sounds slightly bitter. Is it? Wow, I thought it was earlier. I gesture to the rest of my peerage. Well, she's right. We should move out. I leave the room and the others follow me outside. We gather together and I teleport us to the front of an abandoned warehouse near the residential district of town. The higher-ups have decided that this devil is a threat to the area and we are to take it out before it can cause any damage to the town or attacking any civilians. Seeing as they haven't done any actions that put the town in immediate danger yet, I'm going to let you all handle this alone. Before we get started though, we need to talk about combat positions. I stand in front of the group and start to explain. Asia, your position of a bishop grants you a massive boost to magical power, and coupled with your sacred gear's nature, your main purpose is going to be support. All you have to do is heal anybody who's been injured. Calwarner, your knight piece gives you a boost to speed, focus on high-speed attacks that have more of a focus on precision than power. Aim for a weak spot, get in, hit fast, and get out. Middled, you're the exact opposite. Your bishop piece grants you massive physical strength and unparalleled defensive prowess. Seeing as I don't have any pawns, you're going to be the frontline troop. Keep them distracted while doing as much damage as possible. Ray, you're second only to me in terms of overall power. You are a culmination of the perks of every piece in the set, just do what you do best. She smiles at me sweetly as I step towards the building. Well then, I want to see how well you all work together, so I'll be sitting this one out. The target hasn't done anything prompting any great haste, so we can take our time. Just don't screw this up. Any questions? Before they can respond, a feminine scream that sounds slightly familiar penetrates the air. Oh shit, there's somebody in there. I shout as I launch into the building at top speed. Change of plans. Rescuing the hostage takes top priority. I blast through the doors of the building and take a combative stance. In the center of the building, a woman is suspended from the ceiling, tied up and hanging by her ankles. Hyoudou-kun. She says worriedly. Hyoudou-kun, run. Something's down there, get out while you still can. Oh, but that's why he's here, girly. Rasps a vaguely feminine voice from the shadows. A woman steps out from the shadows in the other side of the building. Her nude body is only visible from the waist up, but she seems to be a little bit high off of the ground. I must say, I wish that you'd let me know you were coming, I'm afraid that I don't quite have enough dinner to share with a group your size. She may be succulent, but she doesn't have a lot of meat on her. I step forward, summoning my boosted gear gauntlet as my peerage forms up behind me. Amano-san, Asia-chan. What are you doing here? Run. The girl shouts from the ceiling. Murayama-san. Asia cries worriedly. I-san, we have to hurry. I'm assuming that you're Visor, the stray devil. I call out. I'll give you two options, let the girl go and die quickly. I step forward again and shot a bolt of fire at the ground in front of her. Or resist, and suffer. She moves fully out of the darkness, and I reel back in shock. The reason that she was so high off the ground was because of her monstrous lower half. Instead of something even vaguely humanoid, her entire lower body is comprised of some form of beast. A skeletal structure that is clearly visible under the taut skin resembles that of some large cat, similar to a lion, but much larger in scale. Her forelegs end in claws each about the size of a large child, and they appear to be razor sharp. You little shit. Who the hell do you think you are? She screeches as she moves forward, stomping down at me with one of her legs. Ray, I order as I jump out of the way, get Murayama out of here, I'll take care of the stray. Ice, Rainer, that is an order. Asia, go with her and make sure that Murayama is unharmed. Middled, Calwarner, you're with me. Understood. Calwarner shouts as she dashes ahead and stabs Visor's leg with a light spear. Blood spurts from the wound as Visor collapses to her knee. However, before we can celebrate landing an attack, Visor rises to her feet. Nice try, bitch. She snarls as she slashes at Calwarner with her claws. Before her attack can land, I jump in the way and hold out my arm, catching Visor's foot in my armored hand. Hyoudou-kun. Murayama shrieks from behind me. Rainer, what did I tell you? Get her clear. I shout as I grip down and deliver a hammer fist with my free hand, cracking several of the bones in her foot. Unfortunately, the bones in her bestial legs are rather thick and they actually cause a small amount of damage to my hand. She rises up again, but this time she keeps off of her damaged foot. You know, I taunt, it's kind of a shame. You've actually got a pretty great body. But I'm afraid that your little problem down below just ruins the whole effect. Here, let me take care of it for you. I launch myself at her and land a rather powerful punch to a large gem in the center of her bestial lower half. She reels back, coughing up blood and falling over. I walk up to her and stomp on her throat. Any last requests? Kill me. She groans. As you wish. I snarl as I rip her head from her body and incinerate her corpse. I walk back to the rear of the building to where Asia is healing Murayama's small injuries. I kneel down beside Murayama. Rough night? I ask jokingly. Hyoudou-kun, what the hell is going on? Murayama-san, are you familiar with the supernatural? Like angels, demons, yokai, and the like. She nods, but looks at me quizzically. Yeah, but they can't possibly be real, right? Sorry to disappoint, but it's all true. And what you just saw was something called a stray devil. Hyoudou-kun, what the hell is going on? Calm down, Murayama-san. If you want me to explain it more, you can come back to my house with me. I'll explain everything once we're there. But I need to get back to my home, my parents are probably worried sick. I understand, but you and I need to have a little chat. I'll lend you my phone, so call them and say you're staying late at a friend's house or something, But I'm afraid that I can't let you leave until I clarify something about the two of us. I reach into my pocket and take out a cell phone. Turning it on and unlocking it, I pull up the dial pad and hand it to her. I recommend that you don't say anything that might cause trouble. I threaten ominously. She calls her parents and, true to my threat, tells them that she's staying the night to study with her friend for an upcoming test. The group walks back from the warehouse. We couldn't teleport with a non-supernatural entity with us, so we were forced to walk. I suppose that it could be worse, at least none of us were too injured by the fight. Murayama gasps when we arrive in front of my house. It's understandable, seeing as most other teenagers don't own a home of this size. We enter the sitting room and I pour Murayama a cup of tea. Sorry about being so rude earlier, I say handing her the cup, but it was the only way to make sure that you'd come with me. I'm sure that you have a litany of questions, so let's get started. Yeah, I guess you could say that. Hyoudou-kun, what the hell just happened? I told you before about the supernatural world, and that was part of it. Basically, the way the Devil Society of Hell is structured is very similar to feudal Japan and Europe. Higher class individuals have servants who work under them. The thing that captured you is called a stray. Basically, it's a devil that rebelled against its master. This one, Visor, apparently had a taste for human flesh, and you had the misfortune of being the main course. Okay, so where do you fit into all this? Actually, I'm the head of one of the leading families of hell. One of my jobs is to hunt down strays when they enter my territory, hence why I took on Visor tonight. Then Asia-chan and Amano-san are two of the devils working under you. In a way. Asia was actually born a human, but the story of how she came to me is rather long, and I'm not going to tell it without her permission. Basically, Asia died, and I brought her back to life. Unlike most members of my peerage, that's the name of the group that serves directly under me, she has no obligation to serve me. I resurrected her just so that she could live a normal life, because she definitely was due for a break from the living hell she was forced to go through. And Amano-san? That actually involves my backstory, which I doubt that you'd like to hear. Long story short, I'm a half-devil, half-human hybrid, and was raised by fallen angels. I thought that fallen angels were just a type of devil. She says confusedly. Not quite. Devils and fallen angels are actually two completely different species. The fallen angels are former angels that fell due to worldly desires that went against the creed of angels. Devils are creations of the first fallen angel, Lucifer, caused by the corruption of other angels and human souls. However, soon, devils stopped being created by corrupting angels due to the massively growing population of humans being corrupted. A long time ago, devils stopped corrupting souls altogether because their numbers were so great and the portion of the underworld they controlled was becoming overpopulated. Makes sense. She nods hesitantly. Great. Basically, Yuma was a fallen angel, and the two of us grew up together. I thought that you said that fallen angels were created when angels fell. How could you two grow up together if she was a full-grown angel? Actually, she wasn't. Rainer is only a few years older than I am, she is one of the first children of two fallen angels, and was actually never in heaven to begin with. So Amano-san is a fallen angel. Actually she isn't. A few days ago, I reincarnated her as a devil into my peerage. I guess it makes sense. You're taking this awfully well. I expected you to be freaking out about all of this. After everything I've been through, this isn't really very surprising. I guess that's understandable. Well then, I guess that's it for now. Go ahead and pick any room that doesn't have a nameplate on the door. Wait, don't you want to, like, erase my memory or something? She asks worriedly. I don't see why I have to. The way I see it, you have a few options now that you know. I can rewrite your memories, but I'd rather not. It requires me to delve all the way into your head, and I don't want to pry into your personal life. You could also join us, I could reincarnate you, and you could come to work for me. You have a lot of potential, I can tell, and with a little bit of training, you could become one of the greatest swordsmen in the underworld. Or, we could walk away and pretend that none of this ever happened. As long as you don't tell anybody, and I mean anybody about us, there's no reason that anybody has to know about this. Of course, I'll have to keep an eye on you, but it won't be too much more than what we have in class. I think I'll go with the third option. I don't think I'd like to get involved with this kind of thing. I completely understand, I don't blame you in the slightest. Just know that the second offer will always stand, I'll have a place for you if you ever want to join up. She nods and stands up. She walks up the stairs as I walk into the kitchen and pour myself a glass of sake to help take the edge off, I certainly need it. While I'm sitting in the kitchen nursing my glass of sake, a magic circle flashes on the other side of the counter and Rias warps into the room. I'm judging by the alcohol that things didn't go too well. She says hesitantly, walking around the counter and taking a position next to my side. You could say that. I say nondescriptly. What happened? She shouts worriedly. None of the others got hurt, if that's what you're worried about. I explain, but Visor had a hostage. Visor? A stray. They had a hostage who? What happened to them? Her name's Murayama. Kaori Murayama, she's in my class at school. From the way you're talking, I can assume she's alive. Actually, she's upstairs. Once we found out that Visor had a hostage, the team switched priorities to recovery over elimination. Naturally, she had questions, and I was more than happy to oblige. And you didn't wipe her memories, she yells angrily. Didn't feel like it. I reply bluntly. I'm interested in adding her to my peerage dibs, by the way, and I thought that it'd be a good way to get her comfortable. Did she accept? No, but I'm hoping that she will soon. But how do you know that she isn't going to talk? Rias, I'm not an idiot. I say angrily, I'm having Rainer keep an eye on her until she accepts, asks me to wipe her memory, or dies. And what are you going to do if she never forgets and doesn't join you? That's not an option, Rias. I like to think I'm a master of human psychology, and I can assure you that within the month, she will either join me or beg me to wipe her memory. What are you going to do? Me? I'm not going to do anything. The human mind is a powerful thing, and she's going to do it all to herself. Now that Murayama-san knows about the existence of the supernatural world and has had a run-in with one of its more dangerous elements, she's going to start feeling insecure. As you're aware, Kuo is rather involved with the supernatural, what with it housing 3 devil peerages, as well as quite a few different yokai. Everything she sees that's even slightly related to us is going to set her off, and with it comes the memories of her time as a hostage. You're forcing her to you. Rias exclaims angrily. No, I'm not. I'm not like Razor, her joining me isn't the only option. I offered to rewrite her memory and she declined, that's all on her. If she decides that she can't handle it anymore, then I'd be happy to rewrite it for her, and she's well aware that I'm willing to accept her if she wants to join. Can you promise that you're not going to fabricate circumstances to push her to you? Of course, Rias. I say reassuringly. I'm a devil, not a monster. Now that she knows, she's more likely to attract the attention of other yokai and devils, especially Sona. What are you going to do if something happens? I told you before. I'm having Ray watch her. If something happens, then Ray'll call me and I'll take care of it personally. I can assure you that no harm will come to her, call it pride. And what are you going to do if she talks to someone? She asks worriedly. It's best if you don't worry about that. I tell her cryptically. It's not very fun. Rest assured that I'm on top of this, you've got nothing to worry about. I stand up, putting my glass in the sink and walking out the door. Now, it's been a long night and I'd rather not be up until morning. I'm assuming that you'll be with me tonight. She nods, moving to follow me upstairs. I guess things are just going to be like this, then, it could be worse. The two of us walk up to my bedroom and are surprised to see Asia and Rainer already lying asleep in the bed. Sorry Rias. I whisper behind me, looks like you were beat to the punch. She lets out a small huff of anger and enters the room with me, stripping as I climb carefully into the bed so as not to wake the others. Must you? I whisper harshly as she undoes her bra. You're going to give Asia a heart attack. I can't sleep without clothes on, you know that. She replies just as harshly. Fine, it's too late to have to go through all this anyway. I groan, conceding the argument and collapsing onto the bed. I feel Rias climb up beside me and cradle me close to her chest like some form of hug pillow or stuffed animal. Looks like I'm not going to be getting any sleep tonight. About 6 hours of me lying absolutely still, the sun rises and everybody wakes up. But you-san. What are you doing here? Asia exclaims. Oh? Good morning Asia. Rias says sleepily. I hope you don't mind my borrowing Issei for the night. You never answered her question. Grunts Rainer angrily. Oh, well I didn't think I had to. Rias replies sharply, after all, we are engaged. Though that does raise the question. Why are you here? But you both just shut the hell up. I groan as I pull myself up from the bed. It's been a long night and I could do without these shenanigans in the morning. I'm going to make a pot of coffee, I expect you both to be out of my room by the time I get back. San. Are you okay? Sorry Asia. Long night. It's nothing personal, I just need some time to get rid of this headache. Without giving any of them time to react, I walk outside the room and into the kitchen below. I'm surprised to see Murayama sitting at the table, already dressed and looking ready to leave. Good morning, Hyoudou-kun. She yelps. You're still here? I ask groggily. I assumed you'd try to get away as fast as possible. Oh, well, if I'm an inconvenience. Not in the slightest, Murayama-san, stay as long as you'd like. Coffee? No, I don't really drink coffee. More for me, then. I lean back against the counter as the coffee brews, the smell giving me the spark I need to start functioning fully. Actually, Hyoudou-kun, I have a few questions. Shoot. And you can call me Issei, by the way. Trust me, we've reached that point. She chuckles. Well then, Issei-kun, you said before that I wasn't supposed to tell anybody about all of this. No. What? Let me guess. This is all just so much to take on at one time. May I please tell at least one person about this, just so I can find a way to cope with it? I step forward and lean on the counter. But, I continue, I'm afraid it doesn't work like that. See, this is actually more for their safety than anything else. You already know about me, but Kuo is absolutely chock full of all kinds of supernatural crap, and anybody finding out increases their risk of being noticed by something that isn't as nice as I am. So I'm in danger of attack, she panics. Absolutely not. I reassure her I'll have somebody guarding you at all hours of the day, be it me or one of my subordinates. I let you choose to keep your memories, and so it's my responsibility to guarantee your safety until the matter is resolved. What do you mean, the matter is resolved? Well, and trust me when I say I don't mean to sound like a jackass, but this can only end in one of three ways. You asking me to wipe your memories, which I'll happily do, you joining me or someone else, that offer still stands, by the way, or you dying. She takes a step back. Don't worry, Murayama-san, when I say you dying, I mean it as something I can't stop. You being sick, an accident, age, that kind of thing. You have my word that nothing supernatural will kill you. But, just because you're guarding me doesn't mean that the stuff isn't there, right? Well, that much is obvious. Our protecting you won't just make the others blink out of existence, we're just a line of defense that you've got at all times, but the danger itself never goes away completely, it's just lessened. The coffee machine beeps behind me, startling me and causing me to jump a bit in place, which breaks the tension and causes Murayama to start laughing. Well, that kind of hurts my image, doesn't it? I joke, pouring myself a mug of coffee and taking a deep gulp. Maybe so, but it's not something to be embarrassed about, Issei-kun. If you say so. Anyway, I'm going to head back upstairs. I'll arrange things so that you can be excused today if you don't want to go to school, but you might want to get ready otherwise, we need to leave in about an hour. Oh. I'd completely forgotten about school. I guess it's a good thing I still have my uniform, huh? So, I take it you're going? She nods. Well then, I'm going upstairs to get ready. If you want, you can leave with the rest of us, or you can head out on your own. I place my mug in the sink and go back upstairs to my bedroom. Casting out my senses, I can detect one life force in the room, but it's unlike the three that were inside previously. I conjure up my boosted gear and burst through the door, scanning the room. However, I can't seem to see anybody. This is a warning. I call out, locking onto the area the aura is originating. If you don't make yourself visible within the next 5 seconds, you will be treated as a threat and eliminated with extreme prejudice. As I finish talking, the area in front of my bed shimmers as a woman's body comes into sight. Why can't I have any fun these days, Naya? The woman pouts, flopping down on the bed. Well, it might be because you absolutely refuse to hide your aura. I walk to the closet and pull out my school uniform. So, Kuroka, I say, turning around and putting on my clothes, what brings you to my home? She drops her joking demeanor and takes on a more serious aspect. I heard that you've seen Shirin. I have. I say cautiously. How is she doing? Kuroka, I told you before and I'll tell you again. I'm not going to solve your problem for you. If you're worried about the implications of meeting her while you're still on the run, don't be. I've accumulated enough favors with all the leaders to pull for your charges being dropped. I know why you did what you did, so I've got your back. She won't just talk to me after everything that's happened. And how do you know? I fire back, last I checked you haven't seen her in years. Completely warranted, I agree, but still. Issei. Kuroka, I've got your back and I'll always help you out when you need it, but this is the kind of thing that you need to do for yourself. Just lay low for a few weeks. You'll be able to tell when we're all set. Fully dressed, I grab my bag and walk towards the door. Now, if you don't mind, I have to go to school. Mask your presence and leave as soon as I'm gone, it'd cause trouble if you get caught. I walk downstairs and feel Kuroka's energy completely disappear. Ice, Rainer says, siding up against me and leaning in close, what, exactly, was a known felon doing in your bedroom? Don't worry about it, and I don't appreciate you talking about my friends like that. But still, do you have any idea how dangerous it is to be associated with her? I do, but I believe the rewards far outweigh the risks, so I went with it anyway. Any more questions, or would you like to let me get to school? She grunts angrily and pulls off of me as Asia and Murayama walk into the foyer. Remori-senpai, why are you in Hyoudou Issei-kun's house? Well, she says, taking a position to my left and grabbing my arm, I've been informed that you know what we are, so I don't see the point in hiding it. Issei and I are to be married, so it's only natural for us to be together. I'm married, Issei-kun, what does she mean? Remember how I told you yesterday how Devil Society was like feudal Europe? She nods blankly. That includes political marriages. Like me, Rias is a member of one of the 72 most powerful families in hell, and they're all about blood purity and maintaining the family names. That means that she's only allowed to marry other pillar, those are the family's members. Her previous fiancé left much to be desired, so I stepped in and what's a nice way to put this? I objected to the union. Obviously, the devils wouldn't stand for her not being engaged, so our engagement is really just a tool to placate them. Now, if you don't mind, we're going to be late. I turn around and leave the building, walking towards the school at a brisk pace to make sure I'm not late. Behind me, I can hear the others scramble to catch up with me, which only prompts me to move faster. When we get near the school, I notice something rather odd. Standing in front of the gate are two men wearing a set of white robes. One of the two has something rather large strapped to his back, but I can't tell what it is due to it being wrapped in cloth. As we draw closer, I can make out the finer detailing on the cloaks and can see the telltale cross embroidery on the hoods marking them as members of the church. Murayama-san, I say, stopping suddenly, you go on ahead, things might get a little bit hairy for an outsider. Rias, it's best if you do too. Why, what's going on? Rias asks. I point at the men in front of me. Them? See if you can get Sona to excuse both our groups, we need to have a discussion with them as soon as possible. Gather your peerage in the club room if you can. Exorcists? Here? I understand. She says, dashing off through the gates and presumably to meet with Sona. I walk forwards with my hand slightly raised, my palms facing outward. To an outsider, it probably just looks like I'm stretching, but to the trained eye which I hope they have, they can see the gesture means that I mean them no harm. Good morning, I say as I approach them, I assume you're not here for a spot of tea. My name is Zenobia Quarta, one of them who's surprisingly female says bluntly, I demand that you take me to speak with your leader at once. Ooh, Zenobia, that's no way to speak to our host, devil or not. The other one, also a woman, says. My name is Issei Hyoudou, current leader of House Andromalius. You won't find anybody here with more authority than me. I recommend you show some respect, exorcist. Nonetheless, we need to talk. Zenobia says show us to your lair. Lair? Well, that's a little rude. I say. You said your name's Quarta, right? I'd expect a relative of Griselda to have better manners. How do you know that name? She snarls. In due time, my friend. I say condescendingly now, didn't you want to meet with me? I don't know much about a lair, but I do have a clubroom that's rather nice, why not there? The two of them nod, following me inside the gates and to the clubhouse in which the occult research clubroom is located. For the entire duration of the short journey, the rude one Zenobia for some reason could not keep her eyes off of Asia. Once we're situated in the clubroom, Rias, Akeno, Kiba, and Koneko enter the room. Upon seeing the church members, Kiba's face immediately hardens and he begins to let off a very dangerous aura. Well then, Rias says as she sits down at her desk, why don't we get down to business? I agree. Zenobia says. Well then, what might you two be doing in my territory? I inquire, and why did you feel the need to come to me? Are you familiar with the fragments of the holy sword, Excalibur? The other one asks. There isn't a devil alive who doesn't know about those swords. I say solemnly. What of them? Recently, there has been a break-in at various church headquarters in Europe. Of the 7 shards of Excalibur, 3 were stolen. We believe this crime was conducted by the fallen angel Cadre Cacabiel and have traced the blades to the city. She tells us. And we are here requesting that the devils do not interfere with our operation to recover them. The other one bluntly states. Well, I say, standing up and beginning to pace, I suppose I can understand why. After all, if anybody would want to get rid of an Excalibur fragment, it'd be us. But I can assure you that no devil in the city has any intention of stealing one of your little toys. And as for us not interfering, I'm afraid I cannot abide by that. Zenobia stands up in anger, placing her hand on the packagay at her side. Let me finish, exorcist. I snarl. This is my hometown, and you're taking on a cadre, as well as whatever followers he's managed to amass. We will not aid in either side's attempt to harm each other, but we will be conducting damage control, which might involve us stopping you if you put any civilians or property at risk. Know your place, devil. I'm sorry. Ms. Exorcist, don't let yourself forget by whose good graces you're here on. One word from me, and I can get you out of here faster than you can say crucify. Now, I don't want to do that, the factions are close to peace, and I'd rather not disrupt the path. My main worry is that you aren't ready to take this on alone. Excuse me, Lord Hyoudou, the other asks politely, but do you honestly not think that the two of us aren't enough to take on a fallen angel and some stray priests? Of course I'm not, but miss I'm sorry, I don't know your name. Irina Hyoudou. Thank you. As I was saying, Ms. Hyoudou, I have no doubt that you'd be able to do the job alone if it were just a fallen, but this is Cacabiel we're talking about, as well as 3 Excalibur fragments. I'd be surprised if either of you managed to survive if you went in alone. Who says we're alone? Zenobia claims haughtily, we just so happen to have an angel guarding us. You do? Please, do elaborate. I say, incredibly interested in the conversation. I do not know his name, but he appeared to us 2 years ago when we were on our first assignment. I'm starting to get a bad feeling about this. Of course, when he appeared, we were under attack by devils, so I accidentally stabbed him in the stomach. I finish. How did you know? Zenobia stutters, all the color draining from her face. I start to cackle manically. Well, I never thought I'd see you again. Amsterdam, 2 years ago, Church of St. Nicholas. I say. Though I must say that it's rather presumptuous of you to outright call me an angel. I'm flattered, of course, but I'm afraid it's quite obvious that I'm somebody of a more devilish persuasion. Blasphemy? Zenobia shouts. Afraid not. But does it honestly matter? If it helps you sleep at night, then know that I was hired by Michael himself. So he at least recognizes you from the rest of the exorcists. There must be something special about the two of you to draw his attention. Zenobia collapses on the couch, all remnants of color drained from her face, looking deathly pale. Now, I don't think it's that important. I say, sitting back down. In fact, if anything you owe me for almost killing me. Not even considering the fact that I'm the very reason that you're alive. Lord Hyoudou, both Zenobia and I would appreciate it if you stopped. Irina says, looking rather unsettled, though not to the levels of Zenobia. Of course, what kind of host would I be if I made my guests uncomfortable? I smoothly reply. Is exorcist, Rias says I would like to make it known that you may call on my aid at any time. Same with me. I say, I'll always be happy to teach Kakabiel a lesson. I appreciate your offer, Lady Gremory, Lord Hyoudou, Irina says, but I don't think that we should side with the devils on something such as this. I'm afraid it goes against our moral code. From the back corner of the room, Kibble lets out a stiff laugh. Morality. Since when have you churchfolk given a damn about morality? Since when has the church ever done anything befitting the title of proper or moral? The Crusades. Oh, how about the Holy Sword Project? He snarls bitterly. Zenobia stands up, enraged, though Irina stops her and holds her back from what appears a desire to attack the errant knight. I'm sorry about my partner's behavior. Irina says, trying to pull Zenobia back down to the couch, but she doesn't take well to people criticizing the church. I understand what you may think, but you need to understand that the entire story of the Holy Sword Project is just rumors that hell capitalized on to turn you people against us. I'm not entirely sure if you're lying to me or if that's honestly what you believe. Kiba growls. I can testify with absolute certainty that your evil project was real. And on what authority do you make those claims, devil? Zenobia replies with equal malice. My name is Hyoudou Kiba, and I am the sole survivor of the project. When things didn't work out, your people decided to cover their tracks and killed all of my comrades, my friends. I swore to them, and I swear to you now, that I will destroy every filthy holy sword I come across. Kiba steps forwards, summoning a sword in one hand and advancing on the exorcists with absolute hatred in his eyes. As he does this, Zenobia reaches to the pakage at her side and picks it up, allowing the wrapping to fall away and revealing one of the largest swords I've ever seen a human wield. Before further violence breaks out, I step in and bring a fist down on Kiba's wrist, knocking the sword from his grasp. Now, I'd like to avoid any further unpleasantries. Ms. Exorcist, Kiba, I have an idea. Both Rias and I will abide by your request, so long as you let Kiba here destroy one of the holy swords we recover. How dare you? Ms. Zenobia, I say threateningly, I suggest that you reconsider your options. Surely having one sword destroyed is preferable to Kakabiel possessing 3. Never. How about this then? One of you two will go up against either Kiba or I in a sparring bout. Obviously, this is going to be to the first blow, and I'll ask you not to use any holy weaponry that could kill him in an instant. If he wins, then it will be as I said, he can destroy one of your swords, and we will only intervene if you request so, or if your bout poses a threat to the city. If you win, then we won't interfere, and you can keep the swords. Sound fair? The two of them let out a grunt of affirmation. Splendid. I say sarcastically. We can have the fight after school hours. As for the rest of you, I advise you get to class. As Ria's peerage files out of the room, Zenobia walks up to Asia, who's standing behind the couch opposite them. Pardon me, but are you the heretic witch Asia Argento? Asia jumps up in surprise. Of course she's not. Irina says from behind her, there's no way that an ex-nun would become a devil. Actually, I am Asia. Asia replies, hanging her head slightly. To think that a saint has become a devil. Zenobia says scornfully, tell me, do you still believe in our God? Asia looks up, but Irina jumps in before she can respond. There's no way she could believe in God, not if she became a devil. Come on, Zenobia, nothing like that could ever still believe in God. I step forwards angrily, but before I can do anything brash, Raynor pulls me back. It'd be bad if you made a scene, Ice. Just let this play out, nothing too bad can come from it. She whispers to me. I do still believe in God. Asia tells them, sounding incredibly ashamed. I suppose even a blasphemous heretic can still retain some semblance of faith. Zenobia mutters. She draws her sword, facing Asia with undisguised malice in her eyes. If you still believe in our Lord, you should allow me to smite you right now as atonement for your sin. I summon my gauntlet and step forwards angrily. Listen here, you bitch. I snarl. If you touch one hair on her head, I will rend you limb from fucking limb, clear. Before she can snap out of her shocked state, I grab the sword from her hand and throw it across the room. In the few seconds my hand was on the hilt, my skin was already blistering from the holy power imbued in the sword. You think that it makes you righteous? Killing somebody who only wanted to live a normal life. That's what your years of tutelage under the Lord taught you? Whatever happened to love thy neighbor? The way you two act, it's more like say you tolerate thy neighbor, then burn their house down in the dead of night. Well, excuse me if I don't exactly support you on this. Watch yourself, devil. Zenobia says, attempting to sound threatening. Oh, what are you going to do? Preach me to death. I didn't have any problems with you coming into my territory uninvited, I didn't even mind you insulting me that much, but you stay the hell away from my friends. I was not insulting her. Zenobia replies coldly, I was merely doing my duty as a woman of faith. A woman of faith. Don't you get it? You were sent here to die. You may care about your faith, but your faith doesn't give two shits about you. Asia learned that the hard way. Ai-san, please, stop. Asia says from behind me. No. If you're not going to stand up for yourself, then I'm going to do it for you. Turning my attention back to the exorcists, I can see that they both look rather disturbed. Looks like my work's paying off. What do you mean? How were we sent here to die? Irina asks hysterically. Well, isn't it obvious? I say, it doesn't matter that you two have fragments, the fact remains that you're two teenage exorcists going after a 10-winged fallen angel cadre. He could kill you both without even blinking. You're both nothing but cannon fodder, a pair of martyrs, if you like. My guess is that once you're dead, the Vatican is going to storm this area with troops and wipe out both us and Cacabiel, saying that we were together or some bullshit. Blasphemy. Zenobia shouts, the church would never do something like that. Really? The church wouldn't discard somebody because they outlived their usefulness. They've never betrayed any subordinates before. Face it, exorcists, you're nothing to them. While I say this, I jerk my head backwards, indicating that I'm referring to Asia. Oh, she's a heretic. She betrayed us. It is our duty to kill her as women of faith. I bit off, using air quotations and sounding rather condescending. All Asia did was heal somebody. She saw somebody injured on the side of the road and she helped them, like all your little teachings told her to. And then it turned out that he was a devil and she was betrayed. Their buddies up in the attic decided that her ability, which was given to her by God, was witchcraft. She didn't ask to be reincarnated, I did it myself. You leave her out of this, you hear me? By the time I finish my rant, the two of them are in such a state of shock that Irina has slumped back on the couch and Zenobia has to lean on the back of it to steady herself. We're done here. I grunt as I storm out of the room, slamming the doors behind me. End of the here. So that's it for today's video guys. Before you go, just like the video and share it with your friends. Bye.